When Daniel Carter first saw the money, it was spread across the cheap motel bed like a fresh wound. Bundles of hundreds, wrapped in rubber bands that had gone brittle and yellow with time. The green of the bills was faded, but streaked through with something darker brownish stains that looked too old to be anything but dried blood. The bedside lamp buzzed, flickering on and off, as if it didn't want to illuminate what was lying there. He stood in the doorway, frozen, the hum of the neon sign outside pulsing red through the cracked blinds. 1 hour rates, cash only. He could still hear the stranger's words in his head. Room Tracy keys under the mat. Take the bag. Don't count it here. Don't stay the night. If you're still breathing by morning, the rest is yours. Then the stranger had laughed a thin, broken noise and walked into the storm, never looking back. Now Daniel was alone with the bag and what lay inside it. $100,000. He knew it was that much because the note said so. It was the first thing he saw when he unzipped the duffel, a folded sheet of paper on top of the bundles. $100,000. It's all real, but it's not clean. If you take it, you take what comes with it. The handwriting was jagged, almost gouged into the paper. There were small rusty smears on the corner of the note. His brain tried to call it dirt. His gut knew better. He stepped closer, drawn like an insect to a flame. The air in the room felt heavy, thick and humid, like a basement that had never seen sunlight. There was a faint metallic smell, like old coins or the inside of a nosebleed. "This is insane," he whispered, voice sounding too loud in the cramped room. But it was money. More money than he had ever seen outside a bank or a movie. He thought of his overdue rent, his mother's hospital bills, the calls from debt collectors that he had stopped answering 3 months ago. He thought of the eviction notice tucked under his windshield wiper this morning, flapping in the cold wind like a white flag of surrender. He reached out and touched one of the bundles. His fingers came back sticky. He stared at them under the buzzing lamp. There was a reddish-brown smear across his skin, glossy where the light hit it. Not wet, not exactly, but not entirely dry either, like something that never quite finished drying. He swallowed and wiped his fingers on his jeans, leaving a faint shadow. "That's not possible," he said to the empty room. He picked up one of the bills and held it closer. It was a $100 bill, real as any he'd held before. Ben Franklin's face stared back at him, but the white of the paper seemed tinted, its edges darker, as if something had soaked into it. Across the middle, under the green ink and security strip, there was a pale marbling of brown, like veins in stone. He turned the bill over. On the back, across the image of Independence Hall, a dark fingerprint smudged over the clock tower. It looked like a thumbprint in dried blood. He checked another bill, another fingerprint, another smear. Some were faint, some darker, like layered stains. He grabbed a random bundle and flipped through it quickly. Hundreds flashed in a blur of dead green and dried brown. Every single one had marks. Some bills had strange splatters, little constellations of rust-colored dots. His stomach churned. The neon outside flickered again. Cash only, cash only, cash only. He looked down at the open duffel. Somewhere beneath the smell of mold, sweat, and motel bleach, he could smell it clearly now. Old blood, old and heavy, and soaked into cloth and paper and time. He should walk away. That thought came like a faint voice from a far-off room. He should zip the bag up, leave it on the bed, and never look back. But his hand moved on its own, picking up the bundle he had touched, feeling the weight of the blood-stained hundreds in his palm. "Where did you come from?" he whispered. The question had no answer, but something in the room shifted. A pressure behind his eyes, a tick in the corner of the walls, like the plaster was breathing. The note on the bed fluttered, though the air was still. "If you take IT, you take what comes with IT." He thought of his mother alone in her hospital bed, oxygen machine rattling like a dying engine. He thought of the nurse's tight apologetic smile when she said the treatment wouldn't continue without payment. He thought of his little sister's messages. "Danny, are they going to kick Mom out? Please tell me no." He thought of everything he had already lost, and everything he was about to lose. $100,000. Blood or not, curse or not, what choice did he have? He took the money. He didn't even remember the moment the decision became real. 1 second he was standing there, staring, and the next he was stuffing the bundles back into the duffel, fingers shaking, breath coming in short, sharp gasps. He left the note on the bed. He didn't want to touch it again. The motel hallway was silent when he stepped out. The carpet was stained with unidentifiable shapes. The door to room 13 closed behind him with a soft click that sounded too much like a locked ceiling shut on his fate. Outside, the storm had dwindled to a cold drizzle. The parking lot glistened under the orange streetlights. He slung the duffel into the trunk of his rusting Honda, slammed it shut, and drove away. He told himself he felt nothing but relief. He lied. As soon as he hit the highway, something felt wrong. The car seemed quieter than usual. No rattle on the dashboard, no squeak from the back left wheel, just the distant hiss of tires on wood asphalt and the steady thump of his own heartbeat marking time behind his ribs. The duffel sat in the trunk, silent and unseen, but he could feel it. Its weight pulled on him, like gravity had changed direction and was dragging him backwards. Blood money, he thought, literally. He tried to laugh, but the sound caught in his throat. He looked in the rearview mirror. For a moment, just a flicker, he thought he saw something sitting in the back seat. A dark shape hunched over, head tilted toward him. The dashboard lights cast just enough glow to sketch a shadow where the air should be empty. Then a passing truck's high beams washed the car, and the back seat was empty again. "Get it together, Danny," he muttered. But when he reached up to adjust the mirror, his fingers were trembling. He didn't go home. He told himself it was too risky, that someone might have followed him, that the stranger who'd given him the instructions, old blue jacket, hood up, voice like a broken bottle, might be watching. But the truth was, he didn't want that money anywhere near his apartment. Not until he knew what to do with it. Fairview Cemetery was on the edge of town, just off the main road. It was close enough that he drove past it every day, but far enough that no one ever went there at night. The old stone wall was broken in places, and the front gate hung crooked on one hinge. It was, he decided, the kind of place where no one would see him counting blood-stained cash at 3 in the morning. He parked beneath a dead tree outside the fence, killed the engine, and listened to the sudden silence. Only the rain tapping softly on the roof remained. The duffel in the trunk felt like a living thing. When he opened it, the smell of old blood was stronger. He grabbed it quickly, like ripping off a bandage, and climbed over the broken wall, his boots slipping on wet stone. The cemetery was a patchwork of shapes and a darkness-leaning headstones. Rows of nameless concrete markers, a few crumbling angels with weathered faces. The clouds moved sluggishly, sometimes revealing a slice of moon that turned the wet grass silver. He found a spot beneath a crooked willow tree and dropped the duffel on the ground. His breath fogged in the cold air. He opened the bag. Bundles of hundreds stared up at him like a field of dead eyes. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay, just count it. That's all. Count it. Make a plan tomorrow. Bank, hospital, pay off the worst of it first. Just treat it like normal money." He knew it wasn't normal, but he still emptied the bag. Stacks and stacks of blood-marked bills lay on the damp grass. Some of the bottom bundles were wetter than they had any right to be, as if the bag had been resting in something. The rubber bands around them looked almost melted, slick and sticky. He noticed something else when he began to count. The serial numbers, they were all different, as far as he could tell, but scattered among them was a strange pattern. On some bills, the last 4 digits were the same: 1213, 1213, 1213. He flipped through 20 bills before he realized that 7 of them ended with those numbers. On one bill, the brownish smear had soaked into the digits themselves, like someone had pressed a bleeding finger there deliberately. Something about that number nagged at him. He checked another bundle. More repeated numbers. This time, 0507. Again and again, sprinkled among the random sequences, like a date coded into the currency. The wind passed through the willow, making its thin branches hiss. He thought again of the stranger who had told him where to find the bag. If you're still breathing by morning, the rest is yours. The rest of what? Something moved at the edge of his vision. A shape, tall and dark, between the headstones. He jerked his head up, heart banging against his ribs. The cemetery lay still and empty under the low, swollen clouds. "Nerves," he whispered. He looked back down. The money had moved. He froze. For a second he thought it was a trick of the light, but he remembered exactly how he dropped the bundles, the messy pile of them now they were. Straighter, neater, like an invisible hand had nudged them into rows. In the center of the spread, several bills had aligned so that their serial numbers formed a single row of repeated digits. 1213, 1213, 1213, 1213, 1213, 13. He stared at it. A cold finger slid down his spine. "That's not funny," he said to the empty graveyard. The wind didn't answer. On impulse, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his phone. The screen's glow was harsh in the dark, making his eyes ache. He opened his browser and typed, with clumsy fingers, December 13th, death's news. It took a moment for the search results to load. The first link caught his eye. Family of 4 killed on December 13th in home invasion still unsolved. The date December 13th was bold, the number 13 underlined in blue. He clicked it. As the article loaded, the cemetery around him seemed to pull away, the world narrowing to the white rectangle in his hand. The story described a brutal crime scene. 4 people, mother, father, 2 kids, a robbery gone wrong, but nothing taken. The investigators had found blood splattered across walls, floors, ceilings. One detail stood out, near the inn. In a bizarre twist, investigators reported that an unusual amount of cash was found soaked in blood at the scene. The money was later removed as evidence. Authorities have not disclosed the exact amount, but one source described it as life-changing money. Daniel's throat tightened. His eyes drifted back to the bills on the grass, to the repeating 1213. Coincidence, he whispered. He didn't believe himself. He checked another cluster of repeating serial digits. He changed his search. May 7th homicide, cash found. The phone screen briefly flickered, as if something static had crawled over it. Then more headlines appeared. 5 killed in May 7th massacre, suspected drug money involved. May 7th shootout leaves several dead. Police recovered large amount of cash. In every article he clicked, there was mention of money. Cash bills soaked in blood. Bundles scattered across floors. His stomach lurched. He looked down at the money again. What if every little cluster of repeating numbers was a date? What if every date was a death? What if that $100,000 had never belonged to one person, but 2 dozens, hundreds, stolen and stolen again, each time leaving more blood on the paper? The cemetery felt smaller now, close and suffocating. He heard a footstep behind him. He spun around. No one, just the rows of headstones, the black mouth of a broken mausoleum gaping like a missing tooth. "Hello," he called, hating the tremor in his voice. Silence answered. He turned back. Someone was kneeling in front of the money. It happened in a heartbeat. One blink, and the grass was empty. The next blink, and there was a figure crouched over the scattered bundles. It was a man, or what had once been a man. He wore a torn jacket and muddy work boots. The side of his head was caved in, the skull crushed, skin split in jagged lines. One eye hung from its socket, dangling on a wet stalk like a popped grape. Blood matted his hair. His clothes were stiff with it. His hands, though, were clean. He ran his fingers lovingly over the bills, caressing them. Daniel stumbled backward, fell, hands digging into the cold earth. The corpse thing looked up, his one remaining eye fixed on Daniel. The other swayed sickeningly. "You took it," the thing said, in a voice like glass grinding on concrete. Daniel couldn't breathe. You're not real," he gasped. The dead man smiled. It split his torn cheek wider, revealing broken teeth and blackened gums. "I didn't think it was real either," he said. "Not the first time, not the second. The third time, I realized the money's the only real thing. Everything else is just what it buys." His fingers tightened on a bundle of bills. Daniel could see, even from where he sat, the serial number ending in 0507. "Who are you?" Daniel whispered. The dead man tilted his head, the dangling eyes swinging. "May 7th, he said. "That was the day I died. I thought I was getting out. I thought one last job, one last score. They shot me in the back of the head and left me face down on the cash I'd helped them steal. My blood soaked into it. It drank me." He laughed, a wet, horrible sound. "I woke up in the morgue, right next to a sheet that used to be me. I tried to scream, but I don't have lungs anymore. Just this." He held up a bill, the brown stain across it shaped like a handprint. "This is my breath, my voice, my grave." Daniel shook his head, tears stinging his eyes. This isn't happening." The dead man shrugged. "You think you were the first one to find the bag?" he asked. "Or last? It passes from hand to hand, from life to life. Every time someone takes it, someone pays. Always in blood. Sometimes a little, sometimes a lot." His eye drifted past Daniel, toward the headstones, as if reading names only he could see. Every serial number that repeats, that's a life the money bought. A date that got stamped into its paper. A little bit of soul dried into the fibers. We don't leave. We don't rest. We just wait for the next greedy bastard to pick it up. Daniel's skin crawled. His heart hammered so hard he could feel it in his throat. "I'm not greedy," he said, voice shaken. I need it. My mom is dying. I'm broke. I didn't." The corpse thing raised a hand. "Everybody needs it," he said. "Everybody has a reason. Cancer, debt, revenge, escape. Doesn't matter. The money doesn't care. Why? It only cares that you take it, that you choose it. Once you do, you're marked." He opened his hand. His palm was empty. $100 bill floated up from the pile and hovered between them, turning slowly in the air. Daniel watched, numb, as the last 4 digits of the serial number bubbled and shifted, like ink dissolving in water. They reformed into new numbers. October 26th. "That's today," Daniel whispered. The dead man's smile deepened. "Happy Death Day, Daniel." The world tilted. He staggered to his feet, grabbing for the duffel. If he could just stuff the money back, and if he could just put it away. Cold fingers wrapped around his wrist. The dead man was suddenly in front of him, close enough that Daniel could see maggots in the torn flesh of his cheek, writhing lazily. The smell of rot was overwhelming. "You can't put it back," the corpse whispered. "You can't undo the choice. You took it. You brought it out. You started the clock." Daniel yanked his hand free, bile burned in the back of his throat. "Then I'll burn it," he said. "I'll burn every last bill." The dead man laughed. "Fire doesn't work," he said. "They tried that in '96. House went up like a torch. Money was lying in the ashes the next morning, untouched. The family wasn't." His one eye gleamed. "Throw it in the river," he continued. "They tried that in 2003. It washed up on the shore a month later, right next to the bloated bodies of the men who dumped it. Bury it. They tried that too. Dig a hole, cover it up, walk away. But the money doesn't stay buried. We do." He pointed at the nearest grave. The name on the headstone was half worn away. Underneath the faded letters, someone had carved numbers. Daniel's vision blurred. "You're lying," he whispered. You're something in my head. I'm tired. I'm stressed. I'm seeing things." The dead man's face darkened. "You want proof?" he asked. The money on the ground began to move. At first it was subtle. A bill twitching here, another sliding slightly there. Then the bundles started to tremble, shaking like they were alive. Bands snapped with little cracking sounds, sending bills flying in the air. Daniel backed away, stumbling over a flat stone. The money rose. It spiraled up from the grass in a slow, deliberate column, bills fluttering like dead leaves, caught in a wind that Daniel couldn't feel. They spun around an invisible center, forming a whirling cylinder of blood-stained green. In the gaps between the bills, faces flickered. A woman, her mouth open in a scream that made no sound. A child with empty eye sockets. A man with a rope burned into the skin of his neck. Another with half his face blown away. Their features were made of ink and shadow, but their eyes were real. They watched them from inside the vortex of money, their gazes full of bottomless, hungry hatred. "Every bill is a grave," the dead man murmured. "Every stain a throat that opened. Every fingerprint a hand that tried to stop the bleeding." The spinning column of cash tilted toward Daniel, leaning like a cobra. He couldn't move. A single bill peeled away from the whirling mass and drifted toward him. It landed on his chest, right over his heart, and stuck there, as if glued. The paper was cold. It burned. He gasped. Pain shot through him, a sharp stab that started under the bill and spread in jagged lines. He fell to his knees, compressing his chest with both hands. He could feel something under his skin, crawling. Thin paper-like tendrils spreading from the center of his chest, wrapping around ribs, threading through veins. The world dimmed at the edges. Through the roaring in his ears, he heard the dead man speaking. "You're in it now," he said softly. "You feel that. That's the money learning you. Tasting you is carving your date into itself. When you die, and you will, your blood will soak into these bills like ink into a sponge. You'll be here with us, watching, waiting, feeding." Daniel choked on a scream. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the pain stopped. He collapsed forward, hands sinking into wet grass. His breath came in shallow gasps. His heart hammered, but it was his heart. His ribs were his ribs. Whatever had crawled under his skin had retreated. He lifted his head. The bill that had been on his chest lay in front of him. The stain across it was fresh and red now, still glistening, as if someone had just pressed a bleeding hand there. The last 4 digits of the serial number were 1026. His date, today. The swirling column of bills collapsed, falling back to the ground in a rain of paper. Bundles thudded onto the grass. A few stray bills drifted away, caught in a breeze that hadn't been there a second ago. The dead man stood in the middle of the mess, watching him. "You have a little time," he said. "Not much. The money isn't patient. It likes to feed while the fear is fresh. But you might last a day, maybe 2. You'll probably tell yourself you can figure a way out, that you can beat it." He shrugged. "You can't." Daniel staggered to his feet, legs numb. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked, voice hoarse. "If I'm already dead, why bother warning me?" The corpse's smile was sad, almost human. "Because I did the same thing," he said. "When it was my turn, someone tried to warn me. I didn't listen. I didn't understand. I want you to understand at least. You took blood money. That means blood is owed. Yours or someone else's." A new kind of cold slid into Daniel's stomach. "What do you mean, someone else's?" he asked. The dead man looked at the bills, then back at him. "The money doesn't care whose blood it gets," he said. "It just needs the right amount, a balance. $100,000, 100,000 in blood. You can pay it alone, or you can spread the debt around." He stepped closer. Daniel could see the rotting flesh of his neck, the black line where the bullet had gone in. "Kill enough people," the dead man said softly. "Spill enough blood, and the money will let you walk away. For a while, it will be full, satisfied, until it spends itself again in hospital bills or cars or mansions. Every time someone buys their way out of their old life with this money, someone else's life ends. That's the bargain carved into the paper." He leaned in. "Maybe you can buy your mother's life with someone else's death," he whispered. "Maybe that's what you'll decide. We've seen it before." Daniel shook his head violently. "No," he said. I won't kill anyone. I'm not like that." The dead man's rotted lips twitched. "Everyone thinks that. At first doesn't matter. Your blood will pay one way or another." He bent down and picked up a single bill. "When you can't take it anymore," he said. "When the fear rots you from the inside, remember, you can always give the money to someone else. All you have to do is make them take it willingly. Let them choose it, and their blood becomes a down payment." He tucked the bill into Daniel's front pocket with an obscene tenderness. "That's how I got free. For a time," he said, "or thought I did." His eye grew distant. "I gave it to a friend. Told him it was a loan. He was so happy." For about a week, Daniel's skin crawled where the bill rested against his chest. "You're a monster," he whispered. The dead man shrugged. "We're what the money makes us," he said. The cemetery lights distant and few flickered. For a second, the world went completely dark. When the faint glow returned, the dead man was gone. Only the money remained. $100,000 in blood. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He stuffed the money back into the duffel with shaking hands and staggered to his car. The cemetery felt full of eyes. Every shadow seemed to stretch toward him, reaching. He drove with the windows down, letting the cold night air slap his face to keep him awake. In his rearview mirror, he saw faces sometimes, reflected in the glass, sitting in the back seat, pressed against the trunk. They bled from invisible wounds, their skin made of ink and paper, their mouths forming words he couldn't hear. He didn't go home. He drove aimlessly until the horizon began to gray, then parked in an empty lot behind a shuttered strip mall. His phone buzzed. A message from his sister. "They said they're moving Mom to a cheaper ward today if we don't pay. She's scared. Danny, I'm scared too. Did you find anything? Please tell me you did. Please." He stared at the screen until his eyes blurred. The duffel in the trunk pulsed in his mind. $100,000. Enough to fix everything. Enough to save her. If the cost was only his own blood, could he accept that? Could he let the money eat him, knowing his mother would live? "You won't die clean," the dead man had said. "The money doesn't just take your heart, it takes your mind. It drags you through every terror it's ever seen, every scream it's ever soaked up." He could feel it already. Whispers at the edge of hearing, shapes in the corner of his vision, lurking just out of focus. His death wouldn't be quick. it wouldn't be painless. He thought of his mother, struggling for breath, her hands shaking when she tried to hold his. He thought of the choice the dead man had offered, his blood or someone else's, or more accurately, his blood and someone else's. Because the money never stopped, it never rested. Even if he killed for it, even if he fed it, the hunger would come back, maybe in a year, maybe in 10, maybe it would skip a generation, crawling out of some forgotten savings account to land in the hands of someone who thought their lottery numbers had finally hit. The only constant was the blood. He opened the trunk. The smell hit him instantly. It was stronger now, no longer faint or old. It smelled fresh, like a slaughterhouse, like raw meat left out in the sun. The duffel was seeping. A dark, viscous liquid had soaked through the fabric, dripping onto the trunk's floor. It was red, too red, bright and alive. His vision swam. He grabbed the zipper with numb fingers and pulled it open. The money inside was slick with blood. Not dry, not rust-colored, but wet. Droplets slid off the edges of the bills and pattered into the bottom of the bag, joining a growing pool. The serial numbers shimmered. He watched, numb, as the shapes of numbers crawled across the bills like ants, rearranging themselves, forming new patterns, dates, times, coordinates, little codes of death, carving futures. His phone buzzed again. Another message from his sister. "Danny, where are you? Mom keeps asking. She looks really bad. They said if we don't pay today, they're going to stop the treatment. Please." He could hear the money whispering now, not in words, in promises. "You can save her. Just use us. No one has to know." He saw, in a sudden flash, how easy it could be. Take a few bundles, walk into a place where desperate people gathered, place bets by favors, find someone who would do anything for cash, someone whose life already danced on the edge of a knife. Or he thought of the nurse at the hospital, the one with tired eyes and trembling hands, the one who had slipped him a free coffee during a crying jag in the visitors' lounge. She had mentioned in passing that she was behind on her rent too. "You could give it to her," the money whispered. "You could share your good fortune, spread the curse. You wouldn't have to die alone." He slammed the trunk shut so hard the car shook. "No," he gasped. "No, no." People passed by on the distant street, unaware of the storm churning in the parking lot. The sky was a dull, colorless gray now. Morning had arrived, but it brought no comfort. He pressed his forehead against the cool metal of the trunk. There had to be a way out. His mind clutched at weak ideas. Churches, priests, exorcisms, FBI, banks, burning it again, shredding it, scattering it like ashes. The dead man's voice echoed in his head. "Fire doesn't work. The river doesn't work. Burying it doesn't work. The money always comes back. Always comes back." He realized, with a sick twist of his stomach, that there was only one thing the money didn't come back from. Time. Not human time. Not a few years or decades. It had been around at least that long already. Maybe longer. Maybe every major crime he'd ever seen on the news, every bloody robbery, every massacre, had left its ghost in those bills. No, he needed time. The money couldn't wait out. He needed to lock it away somewhere. It would never be touched again. Hope is a fragile thing. It will latch onto the smallest chance and grow like mold in dark corners. An idea took root. Banks wouldn't help. Safety deposit boxes get opened. Lockers get cleaned out. Houses rot. But there were places people didn't go. Places built to stay sealed for generations. Places that were already full of things no one wanted to see again. He thought of something he'd read once, late at night, scrolling through his phone, an article about an abandoned military bunker out in the woods beyond Fairview, built during the Cold War, sealed after a chemical spill, officially unsafe, condemned, restricted. No one went there. Kids dared each other to walk up to the fence, then ran away laughing. If he could put the money there, deep enough, sealed enough, maybe. It wasn't a plan, not really, just a desperate, grasping prayer. But it was all he had. He took a deep breath, opened the trunk again, and grabbed the duffel. Blood soaked into his hands. It was warm. The bills inside rustled like dry leaves, even as they dripped red. He shoved the bag closed and threw it into the passenger seat. The smear it left on the upholstery looked disturbingly like a handprint. He drove. The forest beyond Fairview was a tangle of bare trees and underbrush. The road turned to gravel, then to dirt, then to nothing. He left the car hidden behind a cluster of pines and continued on foot. The deeper he went, the more he felt watched, not just by the money. The bag grew heavier with every step, as if it were filling with stones instead of paper. His arms ached, his lungs burned, his breath curled in front of him in small white ghosts. Somewhere in the distance, a crow cawed, harsh and ragged. It took him an hour to find the fence. It was taller than he remembered from the article's photographs, topped with curls of rusted razor wire. Yellowed signs hung at intervals, flapping in the wind. Restricted area, U.S. government property, do not enter. Danger, toxic hazard. Beyond the fence, the trees thinned. Concrete mounds rose from the earth like buried giants, their doors sealed with thick metal plates streaked with rust. The bunker. He found the section of fence that had been cut once, long ago, then half-heartedly repaired. The wires twisted together left a gap just wide enough for a determined man with a death wish. He squeezed through, the duffel scraping on the sharp metal. The bag snagged, tearing slightly. Blood smeared across the fence. The air inside the perimeter felt different, stale, heavy, like a room that hadn't been aired out in 50 years. He approached the nearest bunker door. It was massive, cold steel, bolted shut with heavy locking mechanisms corroded by time. The wheel handle in the center was frozen in place, rust blooming around it like a dark flower. His hope shriveled. The money shifted in the bag, pressing against his side. It felt almost impatient. "Come on," he muttered to himself. "Come on, come on." He moved along the line of bunkers. Some doors were welded shut. Others were half buried by dirt and fallen branches. One had collapsed entirely, crushed by a fallen tree, its entrance choked by debris. He was about to give up when he saw it. Bunker 7. Its door was slightly ajar. Not much, just an inch or two, enough to show darkness inside, thick and complete. The wheel lock on this one hung crooked, as if someone had tried to force it once and given up. The metal was bent, the bolts strained. The gap between the door and the frame exhaled a breath of cold, stale air that smelled like dust, mold, and something else, something like long-dried blood. He hesitated. The money didn't. The duffel jerked in his hands. He almost dropped it. The zipper slid a centimeter on its own, a thin trickle of red leaking out. The whispers grew louder. "We're almost home." He forced the bag closed again, wiped his palms on his jeans, and grabbed the edge of the heavy steel door. He didn't want to move. He dug in his heels and pulled for a moment. Nothing happened. Then rust flaked loose with a shriek of protesting metal, and the door grudgingly shifted. The gap widened to a foot, then two. The darkness inside stared back at him. He could see the faint outline of a concrete hallway leading down, lit only by the washed-out daylight from outside. His heart galloped. He stepped in. The air grew colder with every step. The bunker swallowed the sound of his boots. The outside world, a gray smear of trees and distant wind, disappeared behind him as the heavy door creaked back on its own, inch by inch. He half expected it to slam shut, trapping him forever. It didn't, not yet. The hallway descended for 10 meters, then opened into a larger chamber. His eyes adjusted slowly. Rusted metal shelves lined the walls, holding rows of corroded cans, cracked plastic crates, and molded tin boxes. A pair of old cots leaned against one wall, their springs broken. A gas mask hung from a hook, its lenses yellowed, its rubber cracking. This had been a place built for people to hide from the end of the world. Instead, it had hidden from time. He walked to the center of the room, each step echoing too loudly. The money in the duffel felt like a living heart, beating against his side. "This is it," he whispered. "This is where you stay. Forever." The whispers hissed. "No." He knelt and set the duffel on the floor. His hands hovered over the zipper. He imagined leaving it here. He imagined forcing the door closed, sealing it with chains, with concrete, with anything he could find. He imagined walking away, never telling anyone, never coming back. Maybe the money would starve here, he thought. Maybe it couldn't feed if no one touched it. Maybe the voices of the dead would finally go quiet. His phone buzzed in his pocket. The sound exploded in the silence of the bunker, making him flinch. He pulled it out with shaking hands. A message from his sister. "Danny, please. They're taking her now. The nurse said if we pay today, we can keep her in the good ward. I don't know what to do. Mom keeps asking where you are. I told her you're getting help. Please tell me I didn't lie." Below the text was a photograph. His mother in a hospital bed, eyes sunken, skin pallid. A nasal cannula fed oxygen into her nose. Her hand was raised in a weak wave toward the camera. Her eyes were full of hope. He stared at the photo until tears blurred it. The bunker was a tomb of concrete and silence. The money lay at his feet, patient and heavy. He felt it again, the weight of the choice. Save her, the money whispered. You can save her. All you have to do is use us. You don't even need to keep it all. Just enough. Just a little blood. The dead man's words drifted back. You can always give the money to someone else. He looked at the duffel. He looked at his phone. He looked at the door. Time seemed to stretch. In that long, thin moment, he saw himself clearly from above, like a camera pulling away. A small, shaking man in a forgotten bunker, kneeling between blood and concrete, holding a phone with a picture of everything he'd ever loved. There was no good choice. Only blood. His own, or someone else's. He unzipped the bag. The smell of fresh blood flooded the chamber. The bills inside shivered, rustling. He grabbed a handful. They were slick and warm, like organs. He counted, barely seeing the numbers. $10,000. Enough to pay the hospital. Enough to buy a little time. Enough to carve $10,000 worth of new death into the money's fibers. He stuffed the bloody bills into his jacket. Just this, he whispered. Just for her. The rest stays here. You can rot here. You can starve here. I won't spend another dime. The money hissed. Liar. He shoved the duffel into a corner of the room, behind a fallen shelf. He piled boxes over it, then dragged one of the old cots in front, blocking it as best he could. It felt like building a dam out of cardboard. When he was done, his clothes were smeared with red. His hands shook so hard he could barely grab the edge of the door on his way out. As he stepped into the daylight, he thought he heard laughter behind him. It followed him all the way back through the forest. He paid the hospital in cash. The receptionist wrinkled her nose when she took the bills. Smells weird, she said, flipping through them. Old, he said quickly. They were in a basement. My uncle died and left us some money. It should be enough, right, to keep her here. Her frown softened. More than enough, she said. We can cover the last 3 months and keep her in the current ward for at least 2 more. That gives you time, Mr. Carter. Time. The money's favorite word. She slid the bills into a drawer. Her fingers came away faintly red. She frowned at the stain. Must be ink, she murmured, wiping her hand on a tissue. These old bills, the print bleeds sometimes. Daniel swallowed. He visited his mother. She cried when she saw him. I knew you'd find a way, she whispered, holding his hand with surprising strength. You've always been my miracle boy. His sister hugged him too hard, sobbing into his shoulder. You did it, she kept repeating. You did it, you did it. He smiled. It felt like someone else's face stretching over his bones. That night, as he lay on his couch, staring at the cracks in his ceiling, the whispers came back, louder, fuller. A chorus now, not just one voice. You fed us, you paid, your blood is marked. He tried to sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw somewhere familiar, faces from the news articles he'd read in the cemetery. The family of 4 on December 13th, the men gunned down on May 7th. Others were strangers. A woman in a waitress uniform, throat slit, lying on a dirty linoleum floor. A man in a business suit, face blue, tongue swollen, hanging from a rope in an office. All of them bled. All of them bled onto money. The bills soaked it up, their fibers darkening, swelling, drinking. He woke up screaming with a taste of copper in his mouth. There was blood on his pillow. His nose had been bleeding in his sleep. He got up, hands shaking, and stumbled to the bathroom. His reflection in the mirror looked like a stranger, pale, hollow-eyed, a faint map of veins visible under the skin of his cheeks, tracing patterns that looked unnervingly like numbers. He splashed his face with cold water. For a moment, as the water ran pink down the sink, he thought he saw something moving under the skin of his chest, a thin, flat shape, sliding just beneath the surface. When he pressed his palm there, he felt something stiff. He reached into his shirt and pulled out the bill the dead man had slipped into his pocket. His bill. The stain on it was darker now. When he tilted it, it shimmered wetly. The last 4 digits of the serial number, 1026, glowed faintly, like embers. He dropped it in horror. It fluttered as it fell, edged with the weight of something far too heavy for a piece of paper. When it hit the floor, he felt a sharp stabbing pain in his chest, as if a hook had sunk into his heart. He gasped. The pain eased when he picked the bill up again and wanted to stay close. It was his tether, his receipt, his death warrant. The next day, the hospital called. His mother was better, much better. She's responding to the treatment amazingly, the doctor said, sounding almost giddy. It's like we're getting her back. I don't know what you did, Mr. Carter, but this is good news. He felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the bill pressed against his skin. Hope. Then, 3 hours later, the news notifications began. He was scrolling through his phone, half distracted, when the headline caught his eye. Hospital fire leaves several dead cause under investigation. His blood ran cold. The article was about a different hospital, one in another state. A late-night blaze. 3 patients dead, trapped in their beds. 2 nurses missing, presumed dead. Investigators baffled about how the fire had started. One line near the end made his vision waver. Witnesses report seeing someone running from the hospital just before the fire alarms went off, dropping what looked like a bag of cash in the parking lot. The money was later recovered, stained with an unknown substance. Cash, bloody hungry. The timeline twisted in his head. He had fed the money a little. It had fed itself somewhere else. He wasn't special. He wasn't the only one. He was just one node in an endless network of blood and paper and desperate choices. That night, the man from the cemetery came back, not in the flesh, in his dreams. Daniel stood in the bunker again, surrounded by money. It crawled up the walls like ivy, covering every surface, dripping blood like dew. The dead man leaned in the doorway, his dangling eye gone now. In its place was a hollow lined with bills, folded into the shape of an eyeball, the inked lines forming an iris. You thought you could hide it, the dead man said. That was cute. Daniel looked at the corner where he had buried the duffel. It was empty. The money had moved. The bunker was full of it. It likes you, the dead man continued. You tried to do a good thing with it. That makes you different. Most people don't even pretend. They just grab and spend and run. You though, he chuckled. You thought you could make it clean? Daniel sank to his knees. What do you want from me? He whispered. The dead man's smile showed too many teeth. We want what everyone wants, he said. We want to be used. We want to be held. We want to buy things. He stepped closer. We want you to bleed, he added softly. We want you to watch everyone you save die anyway. We want you to realize, piece by piece, that there is no good way to spend blood money. There is only more blood. The bills on the walls pulsed, in and out, like lungs. Daniel woke up with a scream lodged in his throat. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. He grabbed it with trembling fingers, half afraid, half hoping for a notification that said none of this is real. It was a message from his sister. Danny, something's wrong with Mom. She was good this morning, and now she's not breathing well. They're trying to stabilize her. Please come, I'm scared. He didn't remember to drive to the hospital. He remembered the hallway, the antiseptic stink, the buzz of fluorescent lights. He remembered his sister's face, streaked with tears. He remembered the flat line on the monitor. Later, he would realize that his mother died at exactly 10:26 p.m., the same numbers that glowed on the bill against his chest. They called it a complication. Her heart had been weak. The treatment had bought her some time, but her body couldn't keep up. Everyone was very sorry. His sister clung to him in the empty parking lot, sobbing, her breath fogging the air between them. I thought we had more time, she whispered. You paid. I thought that meant she would live. He held her, staring over her shoulder at the city lights beyond the hospital. He could feel the bill burning against his chest. When he finally got home, the apartment felt different. He flipped on the light. There was money on the floor. Just a few bills at first, scattered near the couch like someone had dropped them. One lay on the coffee table, another on the TV stand. A third sat on his pillow. They were all hundreds. They were all blood-stained. He hadn't brought them here. He was sure of it. His throat went dry. Slowly, he walked to the bedroom. He turned on the light. The bed was covered in money. It lay in drifts, piled against the headboard, spilling over the edges, blanketing the mattress in a glistening, wet layer of blood-soaked bills. They shifted slightly as the air stirred, whispering against each other. On the wall above the bed, something had written in red. $100,000, paid in full, now collecting interest. The room smelled like a slaughterhouse. The world tilted. He staggered backward into the hallway and slammed the bedroom door shut. The whispering behind the door grew louder. He pressed both hands over his ears, but the sound sank into his skull. "We're yours," the money said. "You can't hide us in old holes. You can't starve us. You fed us once. That's enough." He sank to the floor, back against the wall, shaking. His phone buzzed. A new message. Unknown number. He almost didn't open it. He did. "Room 13. Keys under the mat. Take the bag. Don't count it here. Don't stay the night. If you're still breathing by morning, the rest is yours." He stared at the screen, cold sweat pricking every inch of his skin. When he looked up, his front door was ajar. He hadn't left it that way. On the floor just inside the threshold sat a duffel bag, identical to the one he'd found at the motel. Blood seeped slowly from its seams. The whispers rose to a roar. "You took it. You used it. Now you pass it on." He knew, suddenly, with perfect clarity, how this ended. Not just for him, for everyone. The money didn't want to be buried. It wanted to spread. It wanted new hands, new lives, new deaths. It wanted to move from town to town, city to city, leaving a trail of quiet tragedies and bloody headlines. He could starve himself, but he couldn't starve it. It would find a way, through him or through someone else. His fingers tightened around the phone so hard it creaked. He could delete the message. He could push the bag into the hallway and slam the door. He could burn the apartment down with himself inside, a small futile act of defiance. The money would crawl out of the ashes. It always did. Or he could do what the last man had done. Pass it along. Speak the words. Room 13. Keys under the mat. He saw faces. His sister, his mother, the nurse, the dead man from the cemetery, the strangers in his nightmares. He saw their blood soaking into paper, disappearing into green fibers. He started to laugh. It was a broken sound, high and thin. His laughter turned into sobbing, then back into laughter again. The two sounds twisted together until they were indistinguishable. The money whispered with him. Finally he stood. He wiped his face with his sleeve. He walked to the door. The duffel sat there, patient and heavy. He picked it up. It was warm. It pulsed faintly against his palm, like a heart in a chest that hadn't realized it was dead yet. He stepped out into the hallway. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Somewhere far away, neon flickered red against a motel sign. 1 hour rates, cash only. Somewhere, in a town that hadn't yet learned its name, a man in a blue jacket with a hood up approached a stranger on the street. His eyes were hollow, but his voice was smooth. "Hey," he said, "you look like you could use a break. You look like someone who deserves a little bit of luck." He held out a scrap of paper. "Room 13. Keys under the mat. Take the bag. Don't count it here. Don't stay the night. If you're still breathing by morning, the rest is yours." The stranger hesitated, then